Welcome to the Conservative Pentecostal podcast. My name is Yannicka and I'm your host. This podcast is a New Zealand-based ministry about my journey from being a conservative Christian who moved to Pentecostalism and then eventually returned to conservative Christianity. Myself and my guests talk about false teachings in the charismatic church, worship, church theology, marriage, and finding rest in Christ alone. I hope this episode helps and encourages you. Welcome everyone to the first episode of 2025. I cannot believe we're already in a new year. I have my darling husband on again. Hello, darling.
Hello.
It's really good to have you back. I'm so excited to share more of our story. We were on a little bit of a holiday over Boxing Day and the New Year. Went to Mohaka River Farm, then visited the family. It was really nice to have a little getaway. I always like being away from home because then I don't have to think about all the cleaning I have to do in the house.
Probably cleaning up after me.
So today we're going to be sharing kind of the end part of my husband's testimony. So if you missed his testimony, you really should go and listen to it. It's episode 8. We had one in between episode 9 with Kate Robinson. But please go back and listen to that because Aku's testimony is quite remarkable and just such an amazing story of God's grace and providence. So we're just going to start with how your story, darling, kind of your path straightened. So we ended with talking about Bailey Girl. So again, if you haven't listened to it, please go listen to episode 8 and tell us now, we'll get straight into it, how your path straightened after that.
So there's been a lot of chiseling away that God did in my life, and so a lot of friends getting stripped away, and a lot of bad ones being stripped away and good ones being introduced, a lot of good influences, a lot of discipleship going on. Then after God had corrected a lot of those, it wasn't my doing. And now I'm ready to actually serve God. So now I get the chance to serve in the church. And here I am thinking, man, I'd love to serve cups of teas and coffees to everyone. That was my, the guts of it. That was my sort of dream servant job. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. Lo and behold, God's already lined up what He's got. The work's waiting for me. And I've just got to have the faith to walk through it. And so I come to church one day and our pastor comes up to me with this envelope, and I'm thinking, oh no, what's going on? I had no idea whether it was something bad. I wouldn't have thought it was something bad. I'm just thinking, well, what is it? And he gives me this letter and he says, I've been serving as a steward for a wee bit. And for those who don't know what a steward is, and in our church we have members, we have men there who will serve to alleviate the pain and stress levels of the deacons. So these are roles, giving out communion, taking up the offering, water for our speakers, and other various jobs as well. That's just to alleviate the pressure in some of those servant roles.
So he gave that to you when you were already a steward?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it because here I am thinking, I'll hand out cups of teas, make drinks for people, even cold drinks, whatever it is. And here I am serving as a steward, and a pastor comes up to me with this letter. And he says, well, because of the character, changing character, the character that you are, we think you're in line, we think is the best idea to replace our retiring head steward. And I just thought, unreal. And I looked at Matt and I was thinking, no. You think it's a dream? I just thought I was daydreaming because I'm thinking, no, I can't believe it. And I'm looking at him going, this can't be right, this can't be real. And he puts his arm around me, and I just feel very comforted. I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. To a young guy, who his life had been on the rocks for years and being rebuilt from the ground up, and now serving with faithful feet. Who would have known that would come up? So on top of that, a little bit later on, and this is obviously where the excitement comes in, is meeting you, love.
Well. So what do you remember the year that you became head steward? Was it the same year that we met?
2018.
Oh, okay. So it was a couple of years before that.
Yeah, so it was when you arrived to Horse Bay to buy this house. We actually
Yeah,
doing
that
this
was
podcast.
2017. Yeah.
2017.
Yes.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I came to Riverbend for a little while in 2017, but I never saw you. I mean, maybe I did, but obviously not as God intended for me to see.
Yeah, now I joke to Yanni and I say, maybe you look back at me then and just be like, oh, he's still a loser. I'll come back and pray for him later. Pray for him and come back later for him, Yeah, I still laugh about that because I remember way back then, and I remember vividly, I'm just thinking, what's my life turning into? What's God doing with it? Nurturing me so well, and I'm thinking, there's all these incredible changes. I wouldn't think that would happen to you, and they are. And then you come along, and I'm thinking, you were just sitting up there in the block in front of me, in the pews in front of me, and I was thinking, looked up during the service, and I thought, oh, imagine that, Lord. What if it could be this woman that was the woman in my life?
Next
It
minute.
could be the one. And yeah, that's because I actually thought that, and I thought, oh, well. And we were about to pray, and I just thought, maybe I'll keep that in the back of my mind. And so as a congregation were bound to pray, I just thought, Lord, what about that woman there? And here I am bowing my head, thinking about it quite a lot. Well, overthinking it at this point. Hadn't even met you yet.
Was this in 2020 or the first time that I was here in 2017?
No, so that would have been 2020.
2020, yeah. That's so funny. So yeah, 2020 is when I first spotted you. You'd obviously already seen me, perhaps, but I remember the first time I saw you was when you were doing the communion and you were on duty as a steward. You had a red long sleeve top on and your hair was kind of still wavy. And I was like, who is that? I'm trying to concentrate taking communion, but I was like, hello. I was like, am I being unholy right now? But no, anyway, I think you're very handsome.
And I'd actually give shout out to Auntie Daff. So Auntie Daff was one who really sorted my wardrobe out. And actually now my wardrobe's bigger than yours. So
yeah, it so is.
She did a great job there. And we go shopping every now and then. And that one of those shirts she picked out. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so I saw you, and then it might have been a few weeks later that I sat behind Auntie Daff in church, and then church was over, and she turned around and, greeted me as she does, because she invites literally everyone to her house, and she said, yeah, we've got a home group, they go there, this guy goes there, and she pointed you out, and I was like, oh, does he now? It's like, I must go to this home group. And so that brought me along, I think. I mean, maybe that wasn't truly my motivation, but I was quite interested by then. I'd been observing you, I think, from a distance for a couple of weeks. We had this campfire at church. I can't even remember when that was, but you brought your big speaker to play music, and I was just trying to suss you out and, yeah, who's this guy? And you seemed just so relaxed and friendly with everyone. And then I came to home group. I don't actually remember heaps of home group time with you. I remember like some conversations, maybe talking to you, but I do remember when we went up the peak, and we both remember this. So the peak is just a beautiful hill area where we live. It's called Tamata Peak. And we went up there with a car and a trailer with a couch on it, a couple of couches actually, and which is pretty hard to do really, because it's a pretty windy road. And we went to set up there with home group. We had fish and chips up there, and I was trying to be real like cool, had my sunnies on, trying to be kind of like what do you call it, inconspicuous, and not be noticeable, or not have people notice that I was kind of casually staring at you quite a lot. But I think you noticed, and you were doing the same.
Yeah, I remember jumping over the couch one time. So I'm obviously, active and walking around and having a good time with everyone. And then I remember jumping over the back of the couch, obviously cool kid who jumps over the back of the couch. Don't go around because the couch isn't very wide, so I jumped over it and I thought, oh, this would be cool. Plonked myself down on it and I'm trying to enter the conversation. You and Auntie Def were having.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I do remember that. Funny. And then one time at home group, you were on night shift doing your beekeeping, and you came in your big bee suit, and I was like, oh yes, here, and because I always kind of hoped that you were going to be there, and you came in, and then someone said it had been your birthday, or maybe your birthday was coming up that week. So this was on I think at the time we were having home group on a Thursday, maybe. We have it on Wednesdays now, but
Yeah.
so I was like, oh man, I must get him a birthday present, because like I just there was just something about you, like something was really pulling me towards you. Obviously you hope to meet someone, but it was just like this strong ass pull towards you, and you tried to walk me back to my car a couple of times,
Yeah, so I pulled the trick and I said, hey, like Alice, I always walk her out. She walks right. She parks over in the parking lot across the way, and I thought, if ladies are walking out there, it's night time. It'd be really, really not wise for us just to let it happen. If it happened so often, because it was always the Thursdays, right? Of course, we moved to Wednesdays. But it was always the Thursdays, and it was always at the same time. And Alice would always leave. So if someone picked up on that, of course I live there, but if someone picked up on that, something could happen, of course, Sin's rife out there in the world, of course. And then so someone could just come right up and do no good to her. So I thought when you walked out, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to pull that card out. So I walked out, got part way out the door, maybe even 2 meters, and you turned around and said, I was like, oh, walk you out to your car. And he said, no, that's all right. And so I thought, I'm going to put my haunches
strong, independent woman.
yeah, I'm going to put my heel down here. And so I thought, no, that's right. I did it for Alice for a year, for a long time. I've been doing it over and over again. That's all good. He said, no, really, I'm all right. Yeah, cool. So I keep walking. And you're like, no, that's all right. No, I'll walk by myself. And so I thought, okay, third time. That's fair enough. I'll let you go. I'll let you go. Don't sort of just throw my whole self out there.
Yeah.
And sort of keep it a bit reserved. Yeah.
Scare off the ladies. So yeah, when you got home from work that night, I was like, okay, yep, can I get you a present? And then on the following Sunday, I got you a present. I went up to you and got you this
little basketball court.
Yeah, tiny little basketball hoop with a tiny ball.
I remember it because I was excited.
It's just the most random little present. I'm like, oh, he'll probably like this. And I said to him, happy birthday. And at the time, I was working at the public school, and we had a school production that week. And I invited you to the school production. I said, I don't know if you can make it, but I'd love you to come along and have a look if you want. And you were real keen, and I thought, he probably won't, he probably won't turn up. But then it got to the Wednesday when I said to invite you, and I was kind of hoping you were going to be there. I was pretty nervous because I'd been talking to my students about you.
I think the whole school,
the whole school probably knew at this point.
That knew I was turning up.
If you have ever been in or worked in a school where kids just adore you, they will protect you to the nth degree. And they were all very curious as to who this, what did I call you, hot guy from church?
The hot church.
I don't remember saying that, but I probably did because they said I did.
When I first got there, I'm like, I'm in the right place, And I'm walking up and I'm like, well, I don't know which door it was. So I walked up to one, and I didn't even get to the handle, but I went to go up. And the teacher opened. I recognised her from primary school because she taught me way back in primary school. And I looked and I said, hey, you must be Aku. We've been waiting for you. Oh, we? Like, what was it? Hopefully it's not like this whole big surprise thing they got in the hall. So everything was dark and the production was on. So there was kind of relief that it wasn't like a whole big surprise. Everyone's, all the kids are going to do something. But, so I knew that teacher, which was really cool. And then I just remember just strolling on in, and you were kind of preoccupied looking at me when you should be looking over at the... at the production, and it was just kind of sparks flying.
My heart was beating so fast.
And I was really excited to be there.
Aww.
And that was quite exciting. Like, I didn't know where else I'd want to be.
Aww.
Yeah, and I just remember like this is actually quite cool, you know. And I was getting really into it, you know. You sort of clapping and singing along.
Yeah.
First time been to school, first time I hung out with you, you know, sort of thing like that, in your kind of setting.
Yeah.
And I was just really involved with it. It was really cool, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you just carried such a relaxed way about you, just a peace about you. And I was just so attracted to that. And you were just strolling in, real happy. And then I remember when the production was finished, I mean, obviously I was just so preoccupied with thinking about you. I just got so distracted. And Leah, my teaching partner, she just said to me, look, I'll get most of it sorted. You just go and hang out with him. And I kind of showed you around. But I remember you saying, you just said, like, what can I do? What can I do to help? And I was like, oh my goodness, he wants to help, like, pack up the production and pack up the chairs and stuff like that. I just couldn't believe that you would offer to help. And I still remember, I think I've told you this, that I was walking, this got near the end of the night, and I was walking to my car, just packing some stuff into the car. And I said to myself, and I still have no idea how this came out of my mouth, but I said, I was walking out to the car, there was no one around, and I said, I'm going to marry this guy. It was just the strangest moment. I just was like, yeah, I'm going to marry this guy.
And I'll just throw it out there, what the Lord starts, the Lord finishes. So.
And I wasn't declaring that or decreeing that. It was just the craziest moment. And then we talked outside after everything was locked up and everyone had left. And we stood outside talking for like 2 hours. And
I'd probably love to go back to the stage. I just love watching you get up and perform and doing your thing in your element. And yeah, like the kids love you, the other teachers love you, you know, or your colleagues love you. And I was just sort of thinking, come back to the just getting in there and doing my thing. I was serving away, helping out, pack up chairs and whatnot. But I just kind of thought to myself, and I mean, I never shared this, but I looked back and thought, if I'm going to marry this woman, I'm going to be involved now. You know, if I'm not going to wait till later and build up towards, serving in her life. So I thought, I'm just going to jump in. Don't know her colleagues' names. I'm just going to jump in. Hey, man, what do I do? And so I'm jumping in there, taking, packing all these chairs away. And, good old church guy, hey, man, how many chairs can you lift? And so I'm just stacking these things up. Well, you want me to take these? No, leave them there, Oh, no. And so everyone started carting them out of the way. So just look at the, that man's doing, he's doing 5. Oh, yeah, I'll go 12, I'll go twice as many, So, yeah, it was a laugh.
Oh, so funny. Yeah, and it kind of started from there, eh? I mean, loved that 2-hour conversation. I just didn't want to leave, but, it was getting late and we were both like, okay, yeah, we should probably go. And then we kind of started messaging each other for a little bit. It was pretty casual. And we had Sportscamp that coming weekend. So it was a Wednesday where we were talking, and then Sportscamp that following weekend. And it was interesting because I'd been praying about that, and I thought, man, months before that, and I was just praying, thinking, should I go because I'd never gone before, or should I go and spend that long weekend with my own family up north? And yeah, I just had this sense that God was directing me to Sportscamp and saying, you should connect here now. This is your life. And I really had this strong sense that God wanted me to do that. And yeah, and then we had Sportscamp. And I think if we hadn't spent that time at Sportscamp, I mean, who knows, that maybe we wouldn't have connected more. Who knows? But that was really a time where, man, it was really solidified for, I think, both of us, really.
I'd say it probably still would have.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we'll never know.
Sports games just means you got no excuse to go anywhere else. You've just got to be slapped down the middle, hanging out with everyone, including each other. And I think it's another way you just wanted to come see the duck onesie.
Yeah, that's right. You're wearing pajamas.
Yeah.
The duck pajamas. I called you Duck Man then. You're now Bee Man, but I called you Duck Man.
I've evolved, I've gone a bit higher.
Yeah. And I think I tried to spend as much time with you at Sportscamp as I could. I was like honestly waiting for every opportunity to like find you. You were eating lunch. I came and sat by you, and we were up till crazy hours in the morning talking. I mean, there is a curfew at Sportscamp, and I didn't know this, but you're not actually allowed to leave the camp, for safety reasons, and all the parents drop their kids off there. I mean, I was 30 at that point, so it wasn't quite applicable to me, but I was 29, sorry. And we were just chatting away, and then was it the second night? I can't remember which night it was, but we were still talking. And this was crazy. I was like 2 a.m, possibly.
Yep.
And we decided to go to McDonald's to get some whatever we got. And Auntie Def had little Maxie boy with her, and he was sick, and she had to go to hospital, and she was trying to contact you, and we were like, oh no, what have we done? Like, leaving the camp. But yeah, we were just innocently going to McDonald's, and that was just so much fun to do that.
Yeah, I just look at that and go, that's God keeping the friendship in check, which I love, because I got back and, hey man, you got to be responsible. You got to, it's not just about, this is really getting together and learning more about God. That's what Sportscamp's about. The additive to that is you get, friends in Christ there. You grow new friendships, all sorts. Unbelievers come to the Lord there, and unbelievers actually hear the gospel, and that's where Sportscamp's at.
Yeah.
But the whole thing afterwards, like on top of that is like, well, how about I hang out with this beautiful lady till all hours of the night, and God keeps it in check, because, of course, first night we could have gone, because it was 1:30 by the time we started heading to bed, 1:30 in the morning, and for those who don't know, Sports Camp starts 6:15 in the morning, and so we're going to bed 1:30, and we're still up bright and early, like, yeah, I've still got energy to go.
Yeah, I was so excited.
And then so come into that second night, and we stayed up till 3:30 in the morning, and of course God keeping us in check. So Auntie Daff comes to me the next day and says, hey, you got to be responsible. It was really loving, because I look at, you might have got in trouble, but you go, that's where, yeah, cool, it's all good and fun and butterflies, what's going on now. You meet this wonderful lady, and you're having some good conversations, good quality time, but you got to keep it in check.
Yeah.
And I think that was really healthy.
Yeah. Good old Auntie Daff, protecting her kiddies. And then we had this lovely dinner at Sports Camp where everyone dressed up. It was an anniversary dinner of the Sports Camp 40th anniversary, right? And yeah, man, I was so nervous. I dressed up nice, and you were dressed up nice, and I was just like trying to not look at you too much, trying to just look real casual. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I just want him to see me.
And it's definitely premeditated. So I knew from Jody, Auntie Jody, she said, we're going to have, we're in this big formal, so she lets everyone know, so everyone comes along with some good clothes. And I came premeditated with a tie, and I'm like, no one's going to wear one. So I'm like, I'm going to wear one, I'm going to let her see me with this tie.
You did look very nice.
And so I just, had these nice dress pants, a nice shirt, nice shoes, and I was like, I'm going to slap a tie on, put some gel in my hair, bit of spray, we're away.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And
so
at Sports Camp, there's always two lines to get your food. And so Yanni was on the left-hand side, you're on the left-hand side, eh? And so I was like, the right side's shorter, but the left side is actually near you. So boom, here I am. I'm like, and so I'm trying to, chat away, and
I knew you were coming. I knew you were coming my way.
No, you went red.
Yeah.
And then I looked, and I was like, ooh, look, Charlotte's in on the mix, she's having a bit of a laugh. She's trying to cue you,
Shout out to Charlie.
Yeah, and then it was like, we started chatting, and I could have probably just said hi, and you would have just giggled, right? And so I looked over, and I was trying to chat and obviously make you laugh. I don't think I had to try, because you're in a giggly state anyway. But it's just really cool. I was like, I'm going to just let her know I'm wearing this tie for her. And so that whole thing, I was kind of like, blood pressure's going up before I even got in the building, So it was quite exciting.
It was special. I definitely remember that. And then after the dinner, I don't remember this as well. I do remember hugging you, but we had our first hug when we said goodnight. This was after the dinner.
Perfect place too, at church, right out the front door.
Yeah, perfect place. And am I correct in remembering that this is where you were like, it kind of sealed the deal for you already, or were you like sure already, or was this a little bit later?
Yep.
So
I mean, if anyone's seen it in a grinder in action trying to chew on metal, sparks fly. That was me like a couple of weeks into just like, hey, I've seen you, cool. You hung out at school, and I'm just like, yeah, sparks are flying that big then.
Oh.
So when it came to then, I'm just like, nail in the coffin, that's it.
Really?
Yeah, I was made up by then. And I mean, you got there, right? Because later on down the track, you knew that I was already in that way anyway. Because come to the end of Sports Camp, we had this conversation,
Mm.
and it was so good because I never had that kind of conversation. So now I'm talking to a godly woman and having this conversation, and you're like, well, you got to be up the guts with me, be straight up with me.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, you take this as a challenge, and I was like, well, you want me to be straight up? Let's talk more, so we can see where this thing goes.
Mm.
And you're like, yeah, I just I don't want to be willy nilly. I don't want to be, be let down.
Mm.
You got to be intentional with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you have no idea what's coming. That's what I was thinking. And I think I'm gonna walk away with this broad shoulders, and and I remember you sitting down there. It was quite cool because I'm out doing surfing away, hanging out with friends, and here you are here you're hanging around, and so you could have left at any point, right?
Mm.
I remember you hanging around, and I walked up to Lindell, and she was giving out all these free juicies at the end,
Mm.
to all the servants, and I was like, I'm gonna grab 2, and I'm gonna take one back to you. And so here I am, grab these juicies, and I'm like, it's gonna be so cool if I go walk up to her and give her one. And you're waiting down there by the tree. It was real cute. You're waiting down there like you're waiting purposely for me.
Oh yeah.
And then so I was like, I'm gonna be purposeful back, and I'm gonna bring you a juicy, and so I bring this juicy up to you, and you're like, oh, cool, and we all standing there with these scissors, really bad scissors, trying to cut these things open, and we're just sort of enjoying the end of Sportscamp, enjoying the moment again, and it was real cool. And then of course we had that conversation, and that's when it kind of set up at a foundational level where this was going.
Yeah.
It's not willy nilly, it's not hi. I'm a guy, you're a
Let's
girl.
see where it goes. Yeah.
Let's just play with feelings.
Too casual.
Yeah, it's let's be intentional.
Mm.
Let's make a choice.
Mm.
Where's this going?
And I remember praying to God when we said goodbye at Sportscamp, and I was like, okay, God, if this is meant to be, then He really does have to pursue me and get in touch with me. And it was literally about 30 minutes later when you texted me and you said, what do you want to know?
Yeah, I was right in there.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, 30 minutes later. And it was really an answer to prayer, because I just in the past I had to make so much effort to try and talk to someone or try and get them to make an effort. But here you are 30 minutes later going, what do you want to know? I was just so baffled. I was like, okay, God, I guess this is the real deal now.
Yeah, you want intentional, half an hour, boom, I'm in there.
Yeah. You are still very intentional though.
Yeah, and about intentional, I remember us meeting up at Auntie Daph's house, right? We were getting so intentional about both of our actions that we decided, hey, let's meet up and let's talk through some things, let's get to know each other, like big time.
Mm.
And I think for the first time, it was. So Auntie Daph used to say to me, hey, look, if something's going on and there's, a potential partner there, bring them over, like get to know them in your space, don't go out there and then all of a sudden you wreck it, because that's what naturally happens. That's always what's happened, right?
Mm.
And so for the first time, we're meeting up there, you're coming over, and we meet up and talk through heaps of stuff. We jump straight in the deep end, right? We're just like, boom, faith-based, and we're just jumping into the deep stuff. And it was so good because now you could really have some deep conversations with potentially, well, we know now, what your future is, right? Or what your future would be like, with this person. And so if you're not going to talk about the deep stuff up the guts at a time where it's early, you might as well sort of end it. So we just talked straight through all those stuff there, and it was so good. For the first time, it was like, this is so nice to sit down and talk deep, right? And have something healthy as a relationship, never, because I haven't had that before. For the first time, I was like, hey, he's a godly woman, because she's pursuing in a godly way. And it's obviously been received in a godly way, because we're now in spaces where it's all happening, it's all go for us. And so, sparks may be flying, but there's still God's hand on this friendship. It's working along nicely.
And so just a really unserious side note. I remember Annie Def saying she kind of stalked my Facebook, and I used to make these funny videos during the time of COVID when we were all home. And so this was much later, but she found one of my
Is this the block
videos.
of chocolate?
Yes. Where I made this video and I put these chocolate blocks on the ground, and I've videoed myself running around the chocolate blocks, and then at the end of the video I go, "Oh, I just went for a run around the block." Ha 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 ha. And Annie Def saw that video. She's like, "Yep, she's the one for Aku." Just an absolute idiot.
Yeah, and at that point, Annie Def knew me to a T, right? She knew me to a T. So when she probably saw something like that, it's like, that
Face
is
palm.
that's, oh my goodness, but that is so good.
Everybody knows us for our lame jokes, our dad jokes, but I love it because dad jokes are always great. And then we weren't officially dating, so we were definitely hanging out lots, and we didn't want to officially date until you asked my dad. And you didn't have to ask my dad, I have to emphasize that, but you wanted to ask my dad to date me, not necessarily to marry me yet, but you really wanted to take that seriously because, like you said, it was the first time you had been in a right relationship before God, and you wanted to do it the right way.
Yeah, and so for once, it seems like love. Of course, it wasn't me. God's changing my heart, but for once, I'm making some good steps. Making some good choices, which Honey Def would always say to me, like, you got to be making some good choices.
Yeah.
And she still says that to her kids today, and she says, "Aku, you need to make some good choices." Here we are making some good choices, and this valuable friendship comes up. And so as we go through this, and we're starting to hang out, I got very nervous. But when I was like, I don't want to ask you, Dad. I'm like, not like in a, I don't respect the man. It's like respect
Nerves,
them. I want to ask, but I'm like, I know what he looks like. Like I'm thinking, if he's a Dutch guy, he's gonna be right up the guts with me. And I'm gonna be like, I don't know if I better hold my eyes on him. While I ask him, like being real serious. And so I was very nervous I was going to go and ask, because I knew for a long time I was going to ask. I just thought, say it, make the decision to do it, and figure it out on the day, because that's actually what happened. Because I remember on the day you were asking me, and you're like, "Oh, you're gonna ask Dad, eh? Like, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it?" And you're looking at me, and you're just like, you look at me, you look at Dad, you look at me, you look at Dad. And I'm thinking, oh, no pressure here. And then I thought, I just knew I was going to. So I thought, hey, we wait till once. Dad was sitting down, and I thought, I'm gonna ask him now. I said, "Hey, look, I just thought before we leave, we're going off for your birthday, down the beach. And I just thought, the perfect time. We're going to go to the beach. We used to have a celebration, so I just thought, I'm going to ask him right now." And so there and then I said, like, "Jan, I'm not here, just mucking around. I've come to you because I respect you. You're the man in her life, and so I come to you to ask you, can I date her?" And you remember Dad's reply, right?
Yeah, he said, "Go for it, soldier."
So I'm grabbing his hand. He got a huge hand, by the way.
He does.
And I reached down and I was like, yes. I'm just thinking.
It was nice because we'd spent the day going fishing. Well, you and Dad went fishing. Mum and I sat watching you and reading books, and it was really nice. And I remember Dad, or maybe it was Mum, I can't remember. One of them said, this is a real man. It's not a young guy or someone who's just not mature. They really thought you were a real man. And that was definitely the difference compared to, my past relationships, I suppose. And that was like, yeah, definitely. It was quite a big change. And that was just the best moment when Dad was like, "Go for it, soldier." And Mum was real excited. I think Mum got quite emotional.
Yeah, Mum was crying.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I kind of looked and I was taken aback. I was like, I kind of thought, what's going on? And she's really excited. She's real emotional. She's teary-eyed. She's lots pouring out of her at this point. And she thought, that's a man. The first time. Yeah. This is the real deal. It's happening.
And I think that's a real struggle that a lot of Christian mature ladies have. They all I've heard this multiple times. They say, where are the men? Where are the real godly men? And I completely understand that struggle, because there does seem to be sometimes a shortage of godly men around. They definitely are there, as I can testify to that, obviously. But yeah, it can be such a big struggle for women and men, to find a godly woman. That can be quite hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's just those who, they want to put their confidence and trust in God, and that just sadly lacks. People getting so weighed with the things in front of them, they hold things dear to them, and of course that's where friendships can be shut out, and they'll hold that higher than friendships, or there's something that might idolize for a long time, and that gets in the way of actually seeking a friendship.
Yeah. And after Dad said his yes, we drove to the beach, and you're like, oh man, you said something along the lines of, oh, it's official now, or this is exciting. And I was like, but you haven't even asked me, or like asked me officially. And then you said, will you be my lady? I was like, yes. And that was the 14th of November 2020. And so we started dating, and we had, obviously as new romances go, we just spent every waking hour together, and so many late nights just talking, and driving to different places with food.
Oh, throwback. Do you remember we borrowed Auntie Daph's quad in the trailer?
Oh, yeah.
Right, to go on the beach, and we took all the stuff down there?
Yeah.
Do you remember we drove off to the sunset?
Definitely.
Yeah, and you remember what I said to Dad?
I can't quite remember.
He said, oh, why did you go down there? And I said, well, because if I go further back away from the hill, she can see the sunset better. Oh. And we both looked at each other like, yeah, cool story.
Sunset, right.
Right.
Yeah, that was very romantic, very sweet. We took some cute photos in. So that was a great time, very special, and just so cool to involve our parents. It's such an honouring thing to do, I think, even if you don't have to. We were both 30 at that point, and yeah, we didn't have to do that, but we both love our parents, honoured or wanted to honour our parents. So yeah, it was very important.
I think I'll correct you on that, love. You turned 30.
Yes.
Which means I was.
Oh, sorry, 29. Oh,
I
my
was
goodness.
still 29.
Jeepers, I should know that. My bad.
Mm.
All right, and then, so we spent that whole summer. So obviously in New Zealand, November onwards is summer, or maybe a little bit later than November, but it's the opposite to America and Canada. So we had a very hot summer and spent the days and the evenings hanging out, and we definitely went through a period where I think I had to make a decision, and I became a little bit unsure, and it was a bit of a traumatic time, really, where it was just like, could this relationship work or not? Is this going to go ahead? And it was a bit of emotional turmoil. I think for me personally, I had to come to the point where I had to say, right, am I going to make independent decisions for myself, or am I still going to kind of sway more towards my parents? As even when I was 30, I kind of took a lot of what my parents said as, all right, I have to do this. And not that that's a bad thing. I think it's good to get advice from your parents and to get wisdom from them. But I mean, I was a 30-year-old woman, and I was not even living with them, living my own life, and I really had to get to my own decision making.
I think I'd even back you up on that and say, well, I think I don't know, as a mature woman, I think that's where I would go too, because I mean, I look at your parents, both your parents, lovely, godly man and woman, right?
Yeah.
And they're such a lovely couple. They're so strong together.
Hi, Mum and Dad, we love you.
Hey, Mum and Dad. And so they're very strong in their faith, right? And his dad, he didn't come from a faith-based background, right? No. He came from a non-Christian background, and to hear his story, it's powerful. God can do wonders through that story, telling to others
definitely
of what God's done there. And Mum too, right? Mum's walked with the Lord, right? And she comes from a faith background, right? And so when you get those two together, it's like, wow, we're just kind of looking at a little bit of a glimpse in the mirror there. But yeah, that's where I'd go to as well, right? Because they've lived life, they've lived through struggles, they've probably continue to go through them, but they've got so much to share, and there's a lot of wisdom for you to go that way. It's been a trust, right? It's been a good trust for you. You can go there to rely on them.
Definitely.
As godly man and woman, and the appearance was even bigger bonus.
They've been so consistent their whole lives with their wisdom. It's been quite amazing. Always going to scripture. So I had to take a bit of time to kind of get my heart ready, for this decision of choosing you. We had Bailey girl as well. Obviously, I had to come to terms with being her stepmom. That was definitely a real hard hitting point for me. When I hadn't met her, I was like, man, I'm so ready for this. I can't wait to be a stepmom. I can't wait to meet her. But when I met her, as if you're a step parent, you would probably know this. It is actually a really daunting thing when you then finally meet someone else's child, and to understand that this is a decision that you're making. You are going to be a step parent, and you will have to join in with parenting, and you will be responsible for another human. So that definitely took me a while to work through. But then it was sometime, I think it was this in February, we went swimming in the river. We loved this particular swimming spot, just a beautiful river. And we were swimming, and I just remember saying to you, I'm ready now, darling. And you didn't quite understand
what I was just like, oh cool.
I don't even know if you really understood what I was trying to say. And I was like,
didn't I say? I was like, okay, we can go now. Or like, we're ready.
Oh yes, I think you did.
You're ready.
No.
So
and then I was like, no. You don't understand. I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Didn't I say that again? Didn't I go like, let's go then. Like, we can just go. Or we don't have to stay here swimming. Let's just go.
Yeah, no. And then you finally got it. Like, your face just changed. And it was just the most magical moment, really. We were there in the water, and we were just hugging in the water. And I think you got really emotional. I think you cried. I hope you don't mind me sharing. But you just hugged me so tight. You were just so grateful and so relieved that I was actually ready to say yes to this whole thing. And it took me a while, right? I started off, when we were dating, I was like, yep, this is it. I'm so done. But I think, man, that whole period of like, wow, this is actually huge. And this is the man I will potentially spend the rest of my life with. And then I said, I'm ready. And just the biggest hug in the river, and just the most, I don't know, the feeling of joy was crazy then, eh? It was the most amazing feeling.
Yeah, I was so full inside, and I just, I was way over the moon. It was like, I remember just feeling even peace. I felt a huge peace, because for me, I'd always been driving to be that godly man in your life. Could it be me? That's what I was thinking, And I would always say to myself, and Lord, if you take this relationship free from my hands, and it doesn't go that way towards marriage, then I will still honour you. Like, I'll still love you, and I will still respect her too. But at that moment, I was just thinking, man, I feel there's not you ain't being justified or sanctified, like you're not in that kind of sense, but it's like you just felt that same peace and freedom, like the weights come off your shoulders. But it was like, now you know it's for real. None of those other brick walls are in the way. That was it. That was the last firewall in the way, and that wall's come down.
It was a bit of a scary wait for you, eh? I do feel quite like bad about that time of making you wait, but it was God's timing too. I really had to come to peace about that myself, because making that decision is a huge decision, spending your life with a person, and you don't just willy-nilly make that decision. But from that moment I was like, man, this is it. And it was crazy.
And I'm just thinking, I'm a soldier with all my gear on, I'm like, bring it on. I'll keep coming at you, and all you had to say was just no, but man, I'll take this armor off for another day, And that's what you had to say, but you didn't say no. And so I'm all geared up, and I'm going charging in, guns are blazing, and I'm just like, I'm going after this woman.
Oh.
And I remember the whole way through letting you know that, and so you said to me at the start, you're like, be intentional. I'm like, you have no idea where you just started. and the whole way through, I'd push the pen, and all I was waiting for the whole way, of course, out of respect, was just your confirmations along the way. Where you at? Are you ready? Ready for dating? And we walk through that step. And now, are we ready to engage? Are we ready to get married? And he said yes, and that was just, and I'm just like, that was worth it. All the way through. Our challenges along the way. All of that was worth it because it came to this moment. We're in the river. It's just me and you. We're in the water, and we're just tight embrace. And it was like, let's just live this moment together, And that was so exciting. You had no idea what was going to come either.
I will always remember that. It was so special. And then our engagement, which again was so special. We'll try not make this episode like too crazy long, but we do want to share about our engagement because it was truly very special, and the way it orchestrated that weekend we went up to see my family. So it's about a 4-hour drive to see my mum and dad, and I knew that you were going to ask my dad to marry me. I knew that.
I knew that.
Yeah. You knew that from day one.
Yeah, I knew that.
So we went up there and you'd asked my dad. I didn't really, query any further. I just left it. And then on the way back home, we stopped halfway, which is a city called Taupo. And we first stopped at the supermarket and to get some treats because we were going for a picnic. And stop by the supermarket, get some treats, and then you see these yellow roses, and you're like, oh, why don't we just get some of those? I was like, what? Why? And you're like, oh, just because, and you had actually dressed up that morning too, because you're like, oh, it's a Sunday, I just always want to dress up on a Sunday.
Because you've been lovely to me, and I just want to, just treat you.
Yeah. And I was wearing like shorts and a simple top, but you were all nicely dressed up, and I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, if he wants to dress up on a Sunday, that's all good. So you got the yellow roses, and at this point, like, I was totally oblivious, which is kind of a bit of a miracle because I'm pretty good at reading people, and I was good at reading you, and understanding you, but it was literally like God just blinded me from seeing what was ahead. I really believe God blinded me. It was quite amazing, really, because on the way there we'd had the picnic basket and you had all the stuff in the back of the car, and I
made it very obvious because we went back for the picnic basket.
Yes, and we actually went. We were about 25 minutes already into our drive, and you said, "Oh, we forgot the picnic basket," and I was so annoyed that we had to go back.
I was like, "We love picnics. We love picnics is our thing." And so I was like, we're going back for that picnic basket, just trying to pull this move on you.
Yes, I could not understand why we had to go all the way back. But then I remember looking in the boot and I saw the picnic basket but didn't see all the other stuff that you'd packed with it. And God just blinded me from seeing it. And then we stopped at the supermarket and then we drove to the place we were going to have a picnic at, right? And the weather wasn't too good at that point, right?
Yeah. But I'll just take it back for a second. So going back to Tauranga with Dad, so me, you, Mum and Dad, we went out. We went to the beach. Remember we were down to just before the mount, right?
Yeah.
Before the mount. And we walked down the beach and your mum just, you guys are gone. And I was like, well, I've been set up. This is just you ladies saying, go on, man up and ask the question. And so here I am about to ask a question, and I'm not too sure if we let you know this, but I said to Jan, Jan, walking down the beach together side by side, and we'd been having some good chats and some good dad time there, and so we're bonding as men, and so I says to him, so everything went quiet, and I says, Jan, you're Yanni's first love. God is her greatest love. I'm asking you permission today to be her last love.
Aww.
And so he looks at me and he goes, oh, and you know Dad, right? He goes on this big tangent. He tells this big story, you know, all this kind of
Dad
stuff.
is a storyteller.
But in the end, right, you know, you're talking half an hour of a story that you know, I don't think it has
Classic
to
Dad.
do with asking. But he says, I think he's in his way. He was trying to tell the story, right, to tell me yes, you know, look, leading down that road. And then he looks at me, and I just remember, like, it was just, no, you know, no one else existed in the world. It was just me and him. We're shaking hands, and I'm just thinking, this is a bit surreal.
Mm.
You know, it's another moment in my life. It's just, it's happening. You know, this is all go. And we shook hands, and then, you know, we're arm around each other, walking along, and it was very enjoyable. And I remember we met up, and we had an ice cream after that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And yeah, of course, Dad, he's usually quite talkative, but then he was just kind of soaking it in.
Yeah, special.
Yeah, and so fast forwarding back to Taupo, what you're saying about the bad weather.
Bad weather. We both prayed, hey, please,
No,
Lord.
I remember I was driving and it was bad weather. I'm like, this is where it's got to happen, right? This is it. And you didn't know, but I had lots of people gathering up at Auntie Daph's house when we got back.
Right, yeah.
And so this was premeditated. So I hadn't even asked you. And we're sending, you know, Auntie Daph, she's going to organise this thing on Sunday when we get back. And we're talking like Thursday, Friday, you know, we're talking earlier on. And she's telling everyone, hey, we got this, you know, we got this meeting up, you know, all she doesn't know. And so all these decorations going on, I have no idea. Like, Auntie Daph's just a magician about that stuff, you know.
She is.
Not a magician, because that's that's not a best way to describe it.
Yeah, organisation whiz.
She's just, just God gifted her something great. And so she's building up all these decorations and all these, you know, the table spreads being out there, all these people gathering up. Meanwhile, I haven't asked you. We haven't even left home yet.
So confident.
And so we're in Taupo, and I'm thinking, you know, everyone's gathering up. You know, what would it be if we showed up? And I'm like, oh, hey guys, thanks for the party, but you know, maybe just not today. So yeah, here we are in Taupo, bad weather, and I was like, oh, you know, we just go down that spot. You know, we'd gone there previously, right? Gone to Acacia Bay, and I drove past, and then I says, hey, love, how about you pray? You pray for us. So here you are in the passenger seat, and you're praying away, and we go down further down the road. We turn around, we come back, and lo and behold, the weather stops.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden it starts getting a bit more sunny.
Yeah.
Hey, starting getting sunny.
Definitely.
And then all of a sudden we were like, not only is it sunny, but there's a car park right there I'm going to take, and it's right in front of the tree. So instead of going forwards as a normal person would,
I remember this.
I backed in like a typical truckie. So I went forward, backed in there, up against the tree. You couldn't see anything on the other side, and I thought, this is my moment. You know, this is the time. And so you're about to get out and say, oh, hey, hang on, wait here, and I'm just going to go set it all up.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is a nice picnic.
oh, okay, yeah, it's cool. Meanwhile, we had our jerseys on by then, right?
No, you gave me.
Yes.
We got matching jerseys.
We got matching jerseys. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Super cheesy. It's so cute.
And so I went down there to set this picnic up. And so you got fairy lights being put out, this nice picnic spread and all this kind of stuff. And the blanket. And so I come get you. You close. I say, hey, close your eyes.
Yeah, but when I was sitting in the car waiting, just for a split second, I thought, is he going to propose? Because you got to remember, this was a day after he asked my dad. And I thought, no, surely not. This is way too soon. And so I just put it out of my mind. So I literally did not think it was coming. It was just a nice picnic and you wanted to do something nice.
Next minute. And so I'm thinking, we got to get it down there. You know, this is the time. Got to make this happen. So in my mind, I'm just so nervous. I'm like, the least I could do is not make you trip over. So you had your eyes closed, and it was a bit of a rough ground going down, right? And it is a little bit of a steep climb down. But we got down there, and I said, hey, open your eyes. And you looked, and you go, oh, that's nice. And I'm like, oh, she doesn't get it yet. That's cool.
Yeah.
But it's nice. And then I was just like, we're hanging out for a bit. And then it was like, hey, I got these things for you, and it's just kind of real cheesy dad joke like things, right? That
one was a bag of almonds, and it said, "I'm in love with you."
Or the eclipse. Hey, you remember the eclipse?
Oh gosh, what was the eclipse one again? I can't remember.
In our hearts.
The what?
Our hearts, remember that?
Oh gosh, gonna eclipse our hearts or something.
Both of our hearts have.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, and then so giving you these things one by one, and you're going through them, and I'm like, man, I'm going to set the GoPro up.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's probably just went way over.
I was like, why are you videoing this? Like, why do we need this on video? And then you were like, oh no, we just don't really video any of our experience. And I was like, okay. So I awkwardly waved at the camera. I was like, hi.
You're like, hi. And I'm like coming to you with this news report. And I was like, do you remember it?
No, I don't remember at all. It was probably just so overwhelming.
So the date was the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
7th of March.
Yes.
And here I am in front of the GoPro. You're looking back, I'm looking back at you, and you're awkward. Hi. And I'm like, and this is the 7th of March, and we're in Toba. You know, just
go yes, I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, just try to give you blast in the past, give you a time date stamp. And that was kind of my way of just slyly putting the camera in there, because what was to come, of course, there was all these different items, and then I had this pot of honey.
Yes.
Which it stressed me out anyway. But I cooled down this, I think it was a kilo. Yeah, it was a kilo.
Yeah, it was a pretty big one.
A kilo of arataki honey. And I had to cool it down, because if it was a bit warmer, the box that was in it would sink.
Yeah.
And inside this box that was in there, it was like a box with a little slice in it. It was a locator for a ring. And so this is the proposal, right? And I hadn't looked in it. I was so nervous. I didn't want to look at it, make sure it was like sitting on the top. I was like, we'll leave that up to the Lord. Whatever happens, happens. And so I gave you that one last. I was like, one last thing.
That's right.
And so I gave it to you, and you were like,
yeah, but you made me stick. So we were sitting at this point, right? No, before you gave me the honey jar, because you had a bad back. And I remember you saying you were practicing and practicing before you proposed to get on your knee, because your back was so badly injured at that time. And so we were sitting down, and then you were like, oh, can you just help me up, because I really need to stretch my back. So you literally asked me to help you up before you had to go down on your knee again.
That's the one. And so, going back to that,
I still didn't get it.
I was practicing on my right legs, right? So I'd go down on go down your stronger leg or whatnot to find out which one it was. So even right up to the night of, right, the night before, I went down on my right, and it was so sore. And I'm like, down on my left it is. And I'm thinking, yep, it's going to be my left leg. So I went down, and we're talking 3 in the morning, right? The day we're going to leave, 3 in the morning.
Goodness.
And I'm like, I'm going to give it one last go, because my back's still sore, and we've got to make this happen, you know? Because if the conditions are right, you know, like weather's good, we got this all set up, that's it, I'm going down my left leg, right? And so, and it was all right. It was all right, but, when it happened, man, it must have been adrenaline or whatever was going on, right? Endorphins or whatever. Didn't even feel it on the way down.
Oh, wow.
And so I just crashed down the one leg, went down on my left, and
the note on the honey jar, it said, will you be my forever honey, right?
My forever lasting honey.
Oh yeah, my forever lasting honey, that's right. But I still remember my reaction to that was like, oh, that's really nice. And I still did not get it.
That's sweet. Oh.
Yeah, oh, that's so nice. And then you're like, yeah, open it. And then so I opened it, and you were still standing, but as I opened it, you went down on your knee, and I saw the ring in there, and I was just
your eyes almost
gobsmacked.
came out of your sockets.
Honestly, I was just, I literally froze in time for like a couple of seconds, and then you were like, Yannicka de Jong, will you marry me?
And then of all things, this, I don't know if to other guys out there who are married, I don't know if you experienced this, but there was that long pause.
I'm sure it wasn't that long.
It was.
Was it? Oh,
was.
gosh, I don't remember.
And you're thinking, I'm thinking, my knee, when I get on my knee, bang, I'm talking half a second, you got to say yes, just thinking that was going to happen. There was this pause, and then you looked at me, and I was like, and there's still a pause. And
I was so gobsmacked.
Still had I'm thinking this cheesy smile on my face. I'm just thinking, waiting for. I was still, happy, smile, everything like. It wasn't nervous. Didn't show on the outside, but on the inside, I'm like, please say yes, please say yes. And then you just looked and froze, and you're like, yes.
Yeah, that's right. I don't remember it being that long, but I definitely remember just freezing. I was just like, what? It is happening? All these hundreds of thoughts in my mind for those, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds. Yeah, that's right. And I was like, yes.
So you asked for attentional. Half an hour later, I text you, what do you want to know?
Yeah.
When we go and ask mum and dad.
Day later.
Next
Sealed.
day. Next day. You want intentional, there you go.
Yeah, it was so sweet. And then there was a couple who was sitting on their boat, just, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 meters away from us, and they clapped because they saw it all happen.
That was such a lovely touch.
Yes, it was.
And heard this loud and clear clapping.
Yeah.
I just thought, this is such a neat moment, you know. Yeah, praise God, because it was like, this is a special moment between us. But there's eyes watching, they're seeing the beauty. Yeah,
because I always said to you, I don't want a fancy proposal. I just want it to be us two. I don't want like a let's go to Disneyland and propose in front of 100 people kind of proposal. I just wanted it to be private. And I mean, I think there was only one other person on that little beachfront with a dog. I think I vaguely remember that.
So there was a guy behind us, and they had a kid.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Possibly a dog going back and forth to the car.
So, basically hardly anyone there, but such a nice touch that the couple on the boat wanted to clap for us. And it was just so sweet.
Yeah, and it's like, it's such a God-ordained thing, right? Like, just such a God thing to do, right? It's because they're just sitting there anchored in their boat. And I knew, because I was looking over like, oh, what's everyone doing? And so they were just sitting there anchored up, and he was just reading a book. Him and his partner, him and his wife. Just parked up reading books in their boat. I'm like, and then of course so they blessed us with some congratulations early on. And at that point, I'm thinking, weights off my shoulders. Everyone's waiting for this party to go on. And I'm like, cool, we got this party to come back to,
Yeah, and you got us the jerseys then after that. We sat down for a little while, and then you went into the car, and your brother has a printing company, and he'd made us matching printed hoodies. Yours,
which we still have today.
Yeah, we still have them. Yours says her bee man, and mine says his queen bee. And when we hold hands on my left hand and my right. Yeah, my left hand and your right hand. Yep. And there's like a cool Māori koru pattern that kind of like intertwines as we hold hands, and so it's like super cheesy, but we think it's cute.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
I was like, I'm never going to be the one that wears matching clothes with my partner in the future, and then that's what I do now.
The first thing for you, Mary, matching clothes.
Yeah, matching clothes. Yeah, and then we went back, had a really cool party. It was really special.
Of course, you didn't know this was happening.
No,
right?
I didn't. No,
you didn't know the knee was coming, the ring was coming, right? You didn't know it was all happening, and then you didn't know that party was happening. Like that was all premeditated stuff, right? So, and then I'd prayed about that quite a lot, just so nervous, even sweating about it, just losing maybe the odd hour of sleep. Just hoping that these would go through. Obviously, those are my plans, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. That's your desire.
Yeah.
But God's got to give His approval also, and He made that all. The timing happen, the places all happen. It was lovely. And when we got back, everyone was all there. And
it was so nice. It was very cool. Yeah, very special moment. And so we spent about just over 3 months being engaged. So a lot of planning to go into that time. We had I won't go into all the planning. So then we got married on the 17th of July, which is winter in New Zealand.
Which is when I got baptised, by the way.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yep. And it was a beautiful wedding. It really was quite a special, a very unique wedding, I would say. We really brought our two cultures together. People still mention this to us. We had a relatively traditional ceremony, I would say. Although we had a lovely group of my friends from the school that I was working at sang a waiata for us, which in Māori means a song. It's in Maori, but it's a Christian song really, and so they sang that as your family and my family walked in before I walked down the aisle, and I said my vows. The beginning of my vows were in te reo, which is the Maori language, and you ended your vows in Dutch, which was so sweet. I might actually post our wedding ceremony on my YouTube channel. I think that would be quite special for people to see. And yeah, just so special. So we had our ceremony, and then you had organised something very secretly. And I knew you had kind of organised something for the wedding, but I didn't quite know what had been mustered up. I had gotten a design made for you, a necklace, which is a what we call a taonga, which is again a Maori design, which was a koru that intertwined, which signified our two cultures coming together. So I gifted that to you after the ceremony. So what happened is we walked down the aisle, and then everybody went up on the stage where we were, and we stood in the middle of the aisle and we exchanged these gifts. And then so I thought, oh yeah, no, I've done something quite special for you, giving you this gift. And then you come out with this Korowai, which do you want to explain what it's much better if you would explain what a Korowai is, because it's much special to your culture.
So it was a half length Korowai, and so for you, of course, it's easier to wear the half cloak. Full cloak down to the feet obviously shows royalty or high honour.
So it's a Maori cloak.
It is a cloak, yeah. And so this one specifically had the tino rangatiratanga weaved on it, right?
Which is the flag, yeah.
And it's weaved, and it's got a specific meaning behind it, which is, that's why I wanted to give it to you, because it's got a really good background and heritage to it. But then, in giving it to you, it was like, if you're the woman of our home, I need to clothe you, and as the man now, I've got to clothe you correctly, and I can't leave you unclothed, right, or unrespected, unhonoured. And so for me, that was like of highest honour.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh, yes.
So Korowai is they're just such lovely looking cloaks, right? They're made out of feathers. They're quite hard to make them. Very intricate.
They're beautiful,
especially when they're made well. They're so intricately designed and so well done. They take quite a long time. So I mean, a fast one 6 to 8 months, right? That's fast. You're looking at a year plus. Especially at full length, you're looking well beyond a year. A year or longer, even if you're multiple people working on it. But anyway, I knew I was going to get you that. There was nothing else I was selecting in my head. I knew that was it. Because God says, right, like clothing us with Christ's righteousness, like that's a big deal, right? That's a huge thing. And I just thought about that before I got it, and I'm like, if I want to be, washing her with the word one day, I also want to, in choice, choose to do it, is to clothe her appropriately too, and let everyone see that. It's not just, hey, cool, we're doing traditional, we're chucking a ring on, we kiss, walk down there, cool, everyone's cool with Mary. It's, I want everyone to know that marriage is a huge deal, right? It's a big deal. When you're marrying someone, you're saying, especially as a man, you're saying to yourself, I will do my best in choice, in deed, in heart, in spirit, to lay down my life for this woman, and whatever comes next with its children and whatnot. And so to clothe you in such a way, I was like, I've already made the choice, before the day came, make the choice, clothe you with this high honour, right? And that's what I saw. And straight after, it was like, we honour you with a haka. Right?
So you gave me the cloak, and I just burst into tears. It was just the most incredible moment. And if you don't know, if you get gifted a cloak, like Aku said, it is one of the highest honours, but also no one else is allowed to wear that particular cloak. It is specifically only for one person, and that is just beyond, beyond the greatest honour. It's I had known Māori culture quite well by then, and I just knew that if anyone has been gifted that, that you have a very high respect. And that was just very, very special.
Yeah, and even when it comes to, like, say, burial, right? When you bury, you don't put them on them properly. If you're wanting to hold on to it as a memorabilia or some sort, it's been of common practice to put them upside down on the casket. So you don't put it on them properly, that way you can take it back off them when they go. So they go one way, the cloak goes the other. So the cloak remains and the person goes to be buried. So in this case, when it goes on yours, maybe one day, whether I'm around to see it or not, Lord knows, that will go on the correct way, because no one else is going to wear that one.
That's so cool. Yeah, so that was very special for our ceremony, and then those gifts being exchanged, and just such an incredibly special day. I will always remember that. I think, everyone always remembers their own wedding ceremony, but definitely something unique to that. And so now we're in 2025. We have been married almost 4 years. We'll be in July. It'll be 4 years. So about 3.5 years now. And what have you thought about marriage so far?
Just like Rog said on our wedding day, right? I love heroes, right? That's why I love Christ even higher, like not just off the top of your head. You don't think of Christ as high and mighty, as King of Kings. But that's him, whether we like it or not, right? That is his status. It's not bestowed on him from us, whether we think it or whether we put him there, right? He's King of Kings, right? So, and I just, wanted to be, I'll never be like Christ, right? Until the day that we're glorified. But I look back and go, when I look to marriage, right? That's what I want to be, the hero fighting for our marriage, right? I want to be there at the forefront, washing you with the word, or we're talking through some of these spiritual aspects, right? Talking through biblical terms, biblical things, going through all that, and I want to be the hero of our marriage. So that's what I've really thought about, No one's going to be here fighting for the marriage apart from you, me, and Christ, right? Christ is the one that glues us both together. Otherwise, we're never going to line up in the middle. We'll see eye to eye. It's always going to be an outward thing, right? You're going to be pushing away and out. Christ, what glues us in the middle. So I look at it and go, to love and honour Christ, that's what I want to be. I want to be the hero who fights for the marriage, right? Christ will give the standard. Christ will be the glue that glues us together. But I want to be the one who's in there, fighting for it. No one's going to wake up and go, hey, look, I'm going to fight for these two, their marriage. I want to get up and be a man. Each day, every day, and be like, well, God's gifted me another day. I'm going to get up, be the hero, be the man, and stand up and fight for it. It's don't lay your arms down now. Days of being lazy and young and immature, or, think you've got the energy. Those days are over. Now you do have the energy. Now you do have the responsibility. You're the man, And I'll even go back to what I said in the early episode, when Rog says, what's the what's the difference between a boy and a man and its responsibility, right? And so I want to get up with that same, he's been grown by God, and I'm like, I look to that quite a lot, and I say, if this, this is a very good marriage going on here, that's I want to start emulating some of those things, because those are good, those are working, those are right, and I can see that it's actually scriptural based. And so I look at it and go, I want to be the responsible one. I want to be the man, a man that gets up for you, right? And whether it's to do with the kids, some days where you just, that's it, that your energy bars drop below E, you need a recharge. That's when I come in and say, hey, that's it. You're on recharge. You've got to step away. You've got to recharge. Let's do that, and let's care for you. And I just love to jump in there, battle away at some things, because it's not all just black and white, right? Some situations come in where you've got to make some calls, and that's what it's about. Being a hero to make those choices for your spouse. In this case, it's you. And I'm grateful for it, right? It's a privilege to do it, because not everyone gets that, right? When people get older, some people spend their life by themselves, right? And they're chasing certain things. They expect life to be a certain way, but, I'm thankful to be married to you, and we got this here, and it's undefended, defend it and fight for it and be the hero,
I've never heard you put it that way. That's really
I
sweet.
know.
First time I'm hearing it. That's really nice.
Yeah, and I've been loving marriage, like I've been learning so much, because you can grow up and, every dude will do this, right? They'll get 16, 18 years old and they'll, hey man, I got this testosterone, I got this energy, I want to do it my way. Yeah. Good way to wreck something, because you're coming from testosterone, right? And you're not responsible. You're not being patient to letting God grow you. You're just going, my plans, my way, my energy. I'll do it on my own strength. But now years later, you've been growing and you're like, I'm loving this path, I've been slapped on the hands that many times. I just leave it out there in case someone needs to slap it. That's where it comes from, right? That's a responsible man, like open yourself to some scrutiny that someone might correct you and grow you. And now looking forward to marriage now, all that growth in the last decade and a half, a lot of it, there's been a lot of hardships in there, probably for a good decade.
Yeah.
More to come. Sweet, I'm in for more growth. Is all that needed to happen to get to here?
Yeah.
Invited in. Yeah. And I just love the fact that when it comes to marriage, it's something special, it's set apart, it's different. No one knows about it, No one knows all those very, very deep, intimate moments you have, when you're talking about the Lord in your life, or, when you're crying over some heartache, where you see another believer being in hardship and you're sitting there together praying and you're in hardship crying because of it. And likewise the other way around, you get so excited, you hear that someone's returned home, from a young adult, they've come home and they've given their heart to God, and you look at each other and go like, we didn't expect this, right? But this is the marriage we have, this is the life we have. And that's what I've really been enjoying, because there's highs and lows, ups, downs the whole way through it. And you want to keep the whole lot of it, because you can't say to God, give me all the good and weed the bad out. Because you'll get all these good and you become a lazy believer, you become really slack, and your faith becomes really thin and brittle. Shallow. But you get all these testing along the way. He grows you from one to the next, because we're still going to push through with our sin, even right through marriage, right? You're still going to have all these tantrums, all these, I want it my way, But it's good to just give it up and go, well, what's the point? I don't need to argue with this woman, I gave her my heart. I gave her my, this is my life. I'll lay my life down. I won't fight her. Like, we're on the same team. You don't go to war and you're like, man, that's my teammate. Hey, look, I'll go and snipe that person out. No, you look over and go, hey, we're teammates. Should we do this together? Let's keep this bond tight. Not that it's to do anything to do with war, for those who are listening who are married. We're not trying to say that. But what we are saying is, you look at your wife now, and for everything that's happened, right, good or bad, you go, I've been the one privileged to see all of that, live through it, and I get to keep pushing on in the future, knowing that I can lead my family. We got 2 beautiful girls. And this home, the home we're in, and the Lord's blessed us with it, and it's very overstocked with big gear, but we've been blessed, right? And we get that, and that's what we get to enjoy in marriage, is all this that squishes together that calls it our marriage.
Oh, that's really nice to hear, darling. I think we need to sit down more and reflect on, why do we love marriage? So that is, I think we'll wrap up our story there. That is, in a nutshell, is our story. I mean, we have gone, I think, in the last 3.5 years, we have gone through quite a bit, in terms of struggles, with different situations, not just also like communication but things that are outside of our immediate home and that bring difficulties. But the way you have led our home has been so inspiring, and I always You don't even have to say anything, darling, and I'm so convicted. Just by you living your life, because you always bring it back to Christ. When I'm anxious or worried, which is something that I really struggle with and I'm praying lots about, you always go, well, what does God say about that? And how can we look to Christ in this moment? And you've just been such a constant in our family, and you're just such a peace and a rock, and it's really wonderful.
Thanks, love.
And you are so determined to make me laugh every single day, even when I'm grumpy.
When you're grumpy, that's I take it as a challenge, personal challenge.
I think I haven't been too bad with my grumpiness lately.
No,
Thanks, darling. I saw this quote online, and it said, "One way to stop arguments with your husband is to stop arguing with your husband." And I was like, "That's so good," and it's just hit me for some reason. I'm like, you know what? So much of it that I want to argue with you, or like I want to, I guess as a woman, you want to have control. Like for the last few days, I've been like, you know what? It just doesn't matter. I'm just going to let it go. I hope you've noticed, but at long term, well, let's see what happens.
And I think the other, likewise, the other way, I can speak for men out there, or boys and men as well, is that you go to arms, right? There's a hierarchy. You understand hierarchy, right? And you understand when it comes to it, if it's male versus male, right? We don't come at each other unless you're wanting a conflict. We don't do that. And so when you're talking as a man, right, you go, well, females there's obviously this persona or this way that portrayed across, and there's kind of a general consensus that it's like an emotional thing for women, or there's, you get that side of it. But for men, there's a hierarchical side of it, right? And so being leader of the home, you look at it, and as soon as your wife speaks up, or a female, you start treating it like it's a hierarchy system, right? You look at it and you go, that's male versus male. You're talking to your wife, right? But you're looking at it like that because that's how we deal with relationships a lot. It's like that hierarchy system. And so you'll look over at your wife, and if she speaks back, let's say it's a disagreement of some sort, or you're not seeing eye to eye. It could be something simple. Hey, I want French vanilla ice cream. And you look over and go, you know I love jelly tip, and you're looking at it and you say, no, we can jelly tip, right? This man of the house hierarchy effort, right? But you look and you should see your wife there and go, now, if it's just plain old ice cream, who really cares? It's a blessing whether you get it, right? Either way. But you should look and go, well, who am I talking to? That's my wife. I said to her the day we got married, I'd lay my life down for that woman. Here I am trying to buzz her over some ice cream. So what you do is, instead of looking at that, picking up your war items and putting your suit on, or any of your elements of a sword or a shield, you put them down and go, that's my wife, who I'm not going to fight. And you stand back and go, if this woman, if she just wants cookies and cream for all I care, we're going to have it, because it's not worth it. And so I remember I spoke to you about that, and I said, you know why I don't fight you or argue about things, or don't come at you with a lot of things. It's not because it's placid, hey, look at me as a softie. It's, I could do that, but is that worth your happiness in the marriage? No. We can talk through those things, right? You don't have to just put your point across, put your foot to the floor with the gas and push that point home. You don't have to do that, which you could. Anyone could. You don't need to do that, because you're looking at the one you love, the one whom you would give yourself up. At the end of the day, that's what you do. And you're just talking about simple ice cream, just simple stuff, right, as an example. So you'd go, well, why do I have to pick any of those tools up? This is my wife. It's just ice cream. And you lay down all your arms, you just lay all your calm yourself down, your heart, and you just go, that's my wife. She can even just throw the ice cream in the bin for all I care. That's my wife. I love her, and we'll have whatever she wants.
You always say the last person I ever want to fight with is my wife.
Yep, I go through my days, and I go and see the boys at work, and we have such a ball. We're such a great team. Have some good team vibes, and everyone has their knack. Everyone shows their own personal them, and you love them for it, right? And then you come home and you go, well, what more should you bond with your wife? On what level should that be higher than the rest? And then that's how I see you. And I go, if I look at the next relationship down, right? No, not down, but the next relationship in line after you, it should be no higher than, right? God would come first, will always come, then it comes you, and then after that, right? You got children, and then we've got everything else after that, right? God's people, and the list goes on. But you got to get it all in the right order. And if you're not holding your wife in the right order, you've really dropped the ball as a husband.
That's good, darling. You preach that. So good.
But I mean, it probably has to show because I love you so much too. That's obviously been a growing thing, right?
Yeah.
Sparks flew from early days and still continue to go. And, I can't wait till we get on like some of the rest of them in the church, some of the older couples, and they know each other inside out, to a T. And they can just look at each other, and this is what they're thinking. This is what,
It's beautiful.
And you want to get like that and be a seasoned lover of Christ.
Yeah.
Because it's such a lovely thing. Some of the people in the church who are married, and this is what I look at with us, is they invite people over that have no idea who they are, and vice versa. But they invite them in because that's God's love to them, and they don't want no praise for it. And of course, that's where, that's where I want to see. We want to see with us, right? I want to see the excitement when we bring someone over. We've already had 10 people in our home, which we can barely fit, by the way. It's not very big, but we manage. It's things like that. You put your heart out there for others to be exposed to God's love. We've already had that. People staying over and being able to experience that, be privileged to have people over in our home, right? As a married couple.
It's so cool. So much insight and wisdom, darling.
I just love talking to you through this.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up with some questions that our listeners and friends have asked you. You've had a little bit of time to think about these. So there's 4 questions, and I'll start with this one here. So did you get any biblical counseling for your childhood, or was it more that you were discipled through all of that?
So definitely discipleship. I mean, going through it, none of the childhood came up. When I look at it, there's more hurts to bring up than anything else. God will deal with that. God will repair that at some point. It's got no value to talk about some of those stuff. When you're a teenager and down, but teenager and up. I mean, there's a lot of value there. A lot to go through. A lot to learn, a lot to expose, and then when it comes to discipleship, there's a lot of material that people can draw on in your life, and not just some of this early stuff. Your early stuff, you're looking early teens and lower. You got not much material to deal with. It's just you're living in an environment, as opposed to when you get older, you're starting to make choices and you're starting to know certain things. You're knowing rights and wrongs, and you're choosing right and wrong, which most of the time in a non-believer, right, as a non-believer, you're choosing all these bad choices. So coming to discipleship, it's very easy to draw on that material when you get older, from teenage years up. Some of the men in the church reached out and started discipling me and said, hey, look, let's just work our way through some of the books, because of course maybe they haven't dealt with many like me, or if there is any, I don't know, in that same situation, and they've done well. Many of them done well, and they continue to today, and it's very encouraging because they didn't give up on me. I look at it and go, God didn't give up on me, right, when I really need it. And so I look at those men the same way and go, they, testimony to God, they didn't give up on me, and I'll probably give most reasons for them too, probably give them 9 out of the 10 reasons to give up on me, but there's their last one, and they just like, hey, we'll just dive in and we'll just see what happens, and put to the sky.
Oh, that's good. Okay, question number 2. What is hard about being a Maori Christian? So you've got your cultural identity and your spiritual identity.
I'd say it's in the wording. It's around the wrong way. Because for me, if you look at it, what's the question? What is about being a Maori Christian, right? And so I'd say, even asking that question, it would be that I would swap it the other way around, right? I am Christ before I am Maori, right? And why it's like that for me is that my identity is found in Christ, right? Who am I? I am Maori, you know, and I love that. But if my foundation is not strong, you will fall when God chooses you to fall. But if God is your foundation, right, if Christ my foundation, that is too strong to fail. That's not going to fail. And that's where I'm found first, right? And, what do I do? Do I look and say, where would I go to find my hope? Where would I look left and right and say, who's my helper? Who's in my time of need? When do I have that backup coming for me? And if you look at it and say, it makes sense if I am a Christian that is Māori rather than a Māori Christian, because now we're labelling it, right? Yeah. Christ will always come first. And yeah, as I've been saying before, like, you've got to get your sequences right, and you've got to put God on his throne first. And then your culture comes through. I mean, you don't have to have them both separated.
Yeah.
But they must come in that order.
Yeah, definitely.
And I would even say, like, I can't be Māori and then Christian. I can't. What is that? Well, there's multiple deities there. Just, you know, I mean, Romans and all sorts of other people, you know. You know, you're looking at multiple deities. And when you look at it, you go, well, if one above all looked after all of creation, that makes more sense to me, right? Or let alone the Bible speaks for itself, right? It's closed canon, right? It's just one singular canon, and it's closed book. You can't add to it, you can't take away. And you look at it and go, well, if you're dealing with these multiple deities, right? And it seems like growing up, that's what I had. Well, coming to the above all, that makes me go back and go, well, yeah, you when do you go to those other ones? You know, God of the sea, you know, God of the sky, God, you know, Papa Tuanuku, Mother Earth. You don't look to that and say, you help me. You know, a lot of people will look to them and say they control those spheres, those realms. But I know that God is the creator of heaven and earth, right? He's the creator of the foundations of the earth. So if he's the creator of that, he's above all. And you don't need those. You don't need the rest. You know, you don't need to come to terms with all that. You know, do you need to pass on tradition? No, you don't have to. Right? Think for yourself. Dig into what was before. Right? We're proud people. We're proud Māori, right? But you look at it and go, I am Christ first. That's cool. You know, you don't have to throw any of that down, any of the rest of it down at me. I will just happily pick my Bible up, knowing that a lot of men and women sacrifice themselves to get that to me.
Yeah.
And I'll understand that is evidence enough. We understand evidence, and the Bible is more overwhelming amount of evidence to say that God came to us. So I must be standing that way first.
That's so good. Love that. All right, question 3. What does your family think about your faith?
So confronting that first, I remember telling Mum and saying, you know, this is where I'm at, this is where I go, and this is early days, even before I was a believer. She said, oh, you go to church, like, that's lovely, like, that's cool, that's for you, that's cool. And that's where the buck kind of stopped, you know, nothing, no invoking conversations, no, you know, nothing else than that. So it was quite shut off. So, I mean, I've been so close to my family, you know, all the way through to my early 20s, you know. And then coming to church, that kind of, there was a cutting line in the sand, you know, like a fading line in the sand, and I'm slowly crossing over it. And, you know, family's not like, you know, point the finger, you know, we hate this about you, as you'd expect. But there's been a lot of fading away, slow fadings away, not hanging out as much, you know, me having to go their way, kind of, and a lot less coming my way, which I think, you know, we used to meet up quite a bit. Now it's meet up with them, you know. So that's kind of where we're at there. Not that there's too much of a there's not like a harsh side to it, but it's definitely not like a open, inviting. Hey, let's talk about where you're at. And
Definitely.
talk about your faith, and although we did get them at our wedding, that was cool. Yep.
Yeah, they heard the gospel.
Yep, and then that was the goal there. You know, we want to get them in there and listen to what I listen to. You know, my dad brought me up on respect. You know, and I respect the preacher, and here we are, I'm a saved man, right? And it was actually God I needed to show some respect to, not the preacher. So I do need to show the preacher respect, but it was God that I wasn't really respecting at the time. So that's where the change was.
That's really good. All right, last question. How has your marriage changed since having Eliana? Which, if you missed last episode on his testimony, that is she's almost 7-month-old daughter now.
Yeah, well, you blink and it all goes past.
So fast.
7 months. So what has happened? Well, a lot's happened in the time we've been married, and then, you know, even coming after that, you know, we said to each other, right, we were like looking at each other, hey, we need our focus, right? We want to be, children, beautiful, want children. We want to come closer, right? We want to be ready when someone, you know, when Satan comes along, or someone who doesn't really like what's good and right and true, when that comes along and tries to split us down the middle, we want to be so tight. In other words, we want to be so connected with God, when anything comes along, we want to stand the test, right? So when Eliana comes along, it's like we go from so close, so in love, to now you know, our family's knitting tighter and tighter. You know, we got our 2 girls, right? And so when Eliana comes along, our dynamics change a bit, you know, and let's be honest, like we almost like, hey, how are we trying to survive here? You know, because now you got this newborn in the house and all this kind of stuff, but you're besotted with the baby that everything else it weans off. You know, you might be ticked off with dishes, or you might be ticked off, hey man, that's my chair, but all that weans away, and you go, man, what a beautiful baby. You know, God knitted that together in the womb, right? And you got some wonderful genes, because I can see that, right?
You always say that you're pretty like your mama.
Yeah, she is pretty like her mama.
She is a beautiful little girl.
And how's it changed? Step up as dad, you know. Aku step up as dad even more so. You know, you got 2 girls now. They're relying on you. You know, when people come in to battle against those children, you are the one who stands in the front. You know, you take the blows, you take the hits. When they're in the safe pen, you pluck out the weeds, right? And you put what's good and right and true that in there, that'll grow them, that'll love them, that'll be good for them. And so what's changed is just growing my faith. You know, it's just growing on. And it's keeping it more solid, you know, going back to the testimony, right, on the last episode. You don't have, you know, God doesn't have to prove to me nothing. He's got nothing to prove. He doesn't have to prove anything to us anyway. You know, he's sovereign. He's above all. He's the Lord God. Well, I'm just enjoying parenthood with Eliana and looking at it and going, well, you know, I was, you know, I look at myself, wow, I was once a worm, you know, before the Lord. There's Lord God. Here I am, a worm. Look what I'm getting to enjoy. Right? I get to enjoy this. Is unbelievable. You know? And in my heart, you look at it and go, I hope, you know, it's obviously you don't get, it goes to your mind, but it's not a mindset you want to have, of course. You look and go, I so hope this baby comes through, because of course sin in the world, death comes about, right? So you want these babies to come through, and I'm looking and going, Lord, this, I'll be here for this baby, before it's here, after it's here, and right up till you give me my last breath. And I'm thinking, Lord, just arrive this baby, bring this baby to us. And it was tough, because I remember when she was born, what did change me was the reality that a moment can change everything. And I remember looking at your face when you're being wheeled out delivery room, and I remember looking, saying, Lord, would you please bring that woman back to me, because I thought you weren't going to make it.
Yeah, I had a bit of the birth itself was fine. I was induced, and she was born very quickly, but I hemorrhaged very badly, and so I had to be taken into surgery. And yeah, he thought I was gonna die. It was very
I mean,
scary.
I was close. I was close to tearing up. I did, but I just, you're trying to hold together. And I remember saying to the Lord, I said, Lord, if you do take her, I'll praise you all day long, and if you don't, Lord, we'll continue to praise you all day long together. And so here's this beautiful wee bub, Eliana, and you're being wheeled out, and I thought, how beautiful was that? We named her Eliana, Hebrew, right? My God has answered. So why would you name her that and not trust in what God's doing?
Yeah.
And so you're being wheeled out, and I just said, Lord, would you please bring Yanni back to me? And so what's Eliana done? Well, she's just knitted, like I said, knitted us tighter. Made this bond more beautiful and tighter.
Yeah.
And so you appreciate moments, every moment, because it could flip a switch, and then you're left behind, and they move forward to see the Lord's face. The ones who passed, who are in the Lord, will move on to see His face, and you're here, defending what is good, right, and true, and you're carrying on the good fight here on earth. So now I've got a grip and a mindset now that Eliana's arrived, which I'm not saying I didn't before, but now I have it every day, every moment with me. They've got to be prepared for these things. You got to be ready. If just at a moment's time, it's Eliana, what could happen to her life if that was to happen? Am I still going to say the same thing? Will I praise the Lord all day long?
Absolutely.
And you've got to be ready for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There is something, I found it so incredibly deep and just very moving that as parents, you both just absolutely adore this little creature, and just watching you love her, and I don't know, I mean, if you're a parent, you'll understand this, but I can't describe it. It's incredibly special, and so thankful to God for it. Okay.
Well, I've really enjoyed this. I mean, I've been nervous. I said to you, even before this happened, I was very nervous. I want those out there that hear our voices, to really be going searching after the Lord, right? After God, after Christ, right? And we want them to find the saving grace of Christ, the free gift. And so it's been lovely. Like later on, chuck me on. I'll be nervous still, but
I'd love to have you on again, darling. I don't know what we'll end up talking about, but you're always going to be my favourite guest.
And so those out there, I'll say, is probably the last thing from me. I'll say that same words as Joshua, right? Joshua in the Bible, as he would say it, right? And as for me and my household, right, we will serve the Lord. That is the reason for this podcast, and that's the reason for our home, our marriage, and for what we want to proclaim out there is God's goodness in our life, and that's found in Christ. And no one else can we have that salvation, and no one else have we ever had such a helper in our time of need. We have never had anyone come after us like a loving God, and it's found in Christ. And so as Yanni goes on this podcast, carries it on, just thank you for listening to her. It really encourages her, like I said in the last episode, it does. And as man of the home, it's really encouraging when you come to her saying of how good these things are. And to stand as man of the home, it's quite a it's quite heartwarming to know your wife wants to reach others. I was once a lost man, and you think, man, I'm left to go, I'm left to rot, left to die. But God came after me, and so if she wants to do that, it's just like, man, looking in a mirror, knowing she's doing that to try and disciple people, whether it's women out there or on this podcast. So for those of you listening, if you're not a believer in Christ, truly I ask you, I was once a non-believer, I was once walking with the world. Search after Christ, because I've never wiggled off, and I've never wanted anything else, and that's obviously with time and growth. But search the scriptures, search in the Bible for the answers. If you're asking, go look, go and ask. Don't keep quiet. This life is only what you might even imagine 7 years, but it could be taken, like as I've been saying, moments, right? So when you listen to Yanni's voice, when she gives you some of these tough questions, these tough topics, just open your ear, listen, and really search after that. Life could be taken from you, but in life or death, where do you turn? Do you turn to yourself, which could fade away, which definitely will fade away at some point? It's only a matter of years or days. Search after Christ, because that's where you'll find everlasting, and you will even keep your life. You won't lose it, because he promises that. And that's the lovely thing. I get to sit here with my wife telling those who listen to this, right? If you listen to the end, I know it's quite long, find Christ, I'm telling you. And I have early days I try to look away, but now that I look back, there's a turning point, right? When God saved me, there's no going back. That's it for me. So if you want to talk, I'm pretty sure there's avenues you can reach out to my wife or me. You come talk about this, because I'm always open. We'll find time. We'll talk about these serious issues. It's not about the money. It's not about the jobs or the people, anything like that. You must remember your foundation. Where is your solid ground to put your structure on? I'm telling you, it's found in Christ. Thanks, love.
Goodness me, darling. You just have these amazing ways to end a conversation, which is actually a perfect way to finish, because Lord willing, the next episode is actually going to be about what the gospel is and also what it's not. So I'm going to be talking about the prosperity gospel and how the gospel is twisted, and also to help those who are new to the faith or those who are unbelievers to understand what truly is the gospel of Jesus Christ. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening today. We hope you were really encouraged by our story, and thank you so much, darling, for being on.
I love you.
Love you. So we will see you all next time.